This is your one-stop shop for motocross news from around the world. Hello, and welcome back to the Vital MX pre-game show. As always, we will attempt to shed a light on all that has happened on different sides of the Atlantic Ocean. First this week, let's take a look ahead to the final 5 rounds of 2024 Monster Energy Supercross, because I have stumbled onto an interesting observation. The difference between first place and second place is almost identical to this point 1 year ago. Eli Tomac led Cooper Webb by 7 points after round 12 last year, whereas Jet Lawrence leads Cooper Webb, the common denominator, by 8 points this time around. Most interesting, however, is the fact that Chase Sexton is closer in points this year than he was at this point last year. You see, after 12 rounds last year, he was 25 points adrift. This year, he's just 20. And of course, Eli Tomac in 4th is even closer than 4th place was 1 year ago as well. So it's actually a much tighter race than the recent results and goings-on may make it seem. This is, of course, perhaps redundant, because we all know that Jet Lawrence is the favourite to win and extend his championship lead beyond 8 points. But it's just a nice reminder that anything can happen, and also a reminder that although we maybe look down on Chase Sexton's season or even Eli Tomac's season, they're actually in pretty good shape in comparison to their peers from years gone by. 5 rounds left of 2024 Monster Energy Supercross, so let's keep a close eye on how this plays out. Now jumping across to MXGP, who actually had a race this past weekend. Jorge Prado and Kai de Wolf were the winners once again, but most interesting was what was going on within the paddock. Jorge Prado crashed on Saturday and twisted his ankle. It, of course, did not hold him back in the motos, but it was a slight scare, and in a similar fashion, Jeffrey Hurlings crashed on Saturday and injured his ribs. Now, it does not seem that there are any breaks or fractures there, but still, badly banged up ribs did hold him back on Sunday. We still have 51 motos to go in the FIM Motocross World Championship, and so there is a lot more time for stuff like this to occur. All I would say is, similar to the previous discussion, don't count your chickens before they have hatched. Prado has, of course, been phenomenal thus far. In fact, he is the first rider, the first 450 rider, to sweep the first 3 rounds since Tim Geiser in 2022. Geiser, of course, romped to that championship in a rather easy fashion. Kai de Wolf has, of course, achieved a similar feat in MX2, the first rider to do that since Pauls Jonas in 2018. Now, Pauls did not hold on to that championship lead all of the way to the end, because Jorge Prado came on extremely strong in the second half en route to his first World Championship. Now, there was a lot of confusion over the weekend because Andrea Adamo, the reigning MX2 World Champion, was disqualified from the second moto. At first, reports suggested this was because he stopped in the goggle lane for goggles but did not come to a complete stop, moved through the goggle lane at speed. This was not the case at all. In fact, he was pushed off the track in the turn before pit lane, raced through pit lane without stopping, and then rejoined the racetrack. That is worthy of a disqualification in the eyes of the officials, because you must stop at some point if you enter pit lane. This has left the reigning world champion in a hole of 70 points after just 3 rounds. So it's looking bleak for Red Bull KTM Factory Racing's title hope. But of course, as I said, 51 motos to go. So let's just hold off on the panic button for now. There was some misfortune in Grand Prix. Ferruccio Zanchi, HRC's MX2 rider, was unable to race the Grand Prix of Sardinia because he was banged up after a practice crash in Croatia leading up to the event. He is expected to return in Trentino this coming weekend, although we don't know that for sure just yet. And Håkon Fredriksson, another MX2 rider from Norway, also missed round 3 with an ongoing health issue. Kind of a vague situation there, but it seems as though he's been dealing with an illness of sorts for some time, so I do not expect to see him back until round 5. Although, perhaps, maybe he will be willing to see how it goes in the easier conditions of Pietrammurata in Italy this weekend. A hard-packed track, cooler temperatures expected. It shouldn't be as demanding as the weekend just gone by. And finally, jumping to the other side of the world completely, Jed Beaton went 2-1 in Australia's second round of their national championship, held at Horsham. He regained the championship lead from Kyle Webster. It seems as though those two are going to go head-to-head for the championship for much of this year. It should be a thrilling battle. Beaton, of course, a former podium finisher in MXGP, and Kyle Webster has proven his worth on the international stage time and time again. So, a big weekend ahead. Monster Energy Supercross returns before a furious run to the final checkered flag in Salt Lake City. Round 13 will be held in Foxborough, Massachusetts. Once again, there is a slight weather scare. At the moment, it seems as though a lot of rain is expected on Friday, so a heads up, press day is extremely likely to be cancelled. But it will not rain on Saturday. So it seems as though this situation is very similar to that of Birmingham a couple of weeks ago, where there was mass hysteria on Friday, but ultimately it ended up being just fine. There's so much to look forward to, as the 4th round of the FIM Motocross World Championship will be run in Italy, Trentino, that old school circuit that sits alongside a cliff face, spectacular scenery, picturesque, one of the most brilliant stops on the Grand Prix schedule. So that'll be interesting as well. So much to follow. We will, of course, be covering it all on Vital MX and this very show next week. So thank you once again for watching, for your positive feedback. And if you are looking for another bit of content to fill the time, may I recommend my MXGP podcast show with Adam Wheeler, which is also on this YouTube channel, as well as various podcast platforms. A lot of insight from Europe, and if you are looking to understand the inner workings of that paddock a little more, as well as the hot rumours that are floating around week to week, that podcast is well worth a listen. So thank you once again for your time. We will see you at the same time next week.